You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. We talked about constantly in the failures of the administration. To read those two stories over the weekend, to read the NBC report, to read the New York Times report, to see that DuPont, in order to speed up the process, the United States taxpayers are paying for private charters that cost $1 million when we actually have access to Department of Defense planes that cost $10,000 an hour to fly these Tyvek, the material, to have them assembled in another country, and then we're flying them back, and then the federal government is letting DuPont keep 60% of what we're helping to pay for, and only 40% is going to the government, but we're actually paying $15 per PPE that normally costs $5. How in the hell is the federal government, Donald Trump, Jared Kushner, Mike Pence, they are aiding and abetting American companies ripping off taxpayers in the middle of an international pandemic?
Well, as you know, Roland, we probably should not be surprised by any of this. This is how this administration acts. This is how they conduct themselves. And with all due respect to my good friend from New York, the oversight to this administration, they ignore oversight. There's nothing you can do. They're not going to provide any documents. They're not going to be honest about how they've run their administration. You're going to have to, as we've talked about many times, when you're talking about bringing a knife to a gunfight, you're always going to lose. We have to bring a gun to a gunfight when it comes to oversight. Start turning off their money when it comes to their offices. Start doing things that they will feel, but they don't care when they get a subpoena. But this is how they act. This is how they're going to act for the next, 9 months or so. And then they're going to be out of office because President Biden will be coming in.
Amisha, here's an actual quote from the NBC News story. Here we go to my iPad. We actually helped get raw materials supplied from Richmond, Virginia, and we flew that shit to Vietnam, all so that DuPont could sell us their products, said a senior official involved in the coronavirus effort.
Just circumventing the process. What Donald Trump could have done, and what I think any president worthy of their salt would have done right now, is to convert a lot of our private sector leaders to actually supplying and being able to create a lot of what's necessary to fight COVID-19. What we've seen him do is essentially go rogue, to use private sector leadership to assist him in that process, and to be a modern day pirate when it comes to actually going and interfering in getting supplies from other nations, literally having them taken off of boats as they were being shipped to other places. So I think that this president, he's showcasing exactly who he is. We're watching day in and day out him totally create an even stronger mess of what is COVID-19, and nobody should really feel at ease right now.
Robert, to watch what is happening is stunning. The New York Times had a big piece over the weekend that showed the levels of incompetence, where they got the emails of many of these folks who were corresponding back and forth, who were saying in mid-January, this is going to explode. This is going to explode. We have a problem. Then they even had one email where a CDC official said, wait a minute, if this is correct, our models are completely wrong. To watch right now, Donald Trump is at the podium, whining, complaining, showing some crazy video. He is trying to rewrite history. It is undeniable. It is undeniable that these people absolutely, positively failed the American people. More than 22,000 people are dead, and they think it's a success if less than 100,000 people die.
Well, to to do a quick throwback, remember the articles of impeachment versus President Trump. One of them was failure to cooperate with Congress, obstruction of Congress. What this administration learned from that process was they have absolutely no reason to turn over documents. There is no congressional oversight over anything that they do. There's nothing that the Congress can do to constrain anything that they attempt to do. They can rule by fiat. So right now we're seeing an intersection between Keynesian economics and Friedman's concept on a large free market, where the free market is able to use government spending to stay afloat and line their pockets at the expense of the American taxpayer, running up massive deficits which do nothing to increase employment and simply line corporate stockpiles. So we have to have a Congress which is ready to hold these people accountable, to have hearings, to do not be afraid of being on a video at President Trump's press conference, but to really have oversight over what's going on. We just gave the president a $1.5 trillion blank check where we don't know where any of the money is about to go, and we're ready to hammer through another $500 billion in spending. And if we don't have oversight, we're going to be paying this off from our grandchildren and great-grandchildren going forward.
To watch all of this play out makes it perfectly clear that if you vote for Donald Trump in November, you have no brain whatsoever. That what you're seeing is a true thug. What he did here was he got with the Chamber of Commerce said, no. Do not employ the National Defense Production Act. Don't do that. Basically, what they're saying is let big business make all the money that they can. Here we have nurses in New York and Massachusetts complaining about lack of ventilators. And what Donald Trump is doing, he is using the federal stockpile like pork barrel projects by saying, okay, they told Colorado not to stop your request for ventilators. Then he turns right around and says, after getting a phone call from Senator Cory Gardner, Republican, I am sending 100 ventilators. And then he doles out another set of ventilators, Michael, to the senator from Arizona, who's in a very tough re-election. He literally is playing with the lives of Americans based upon who I can dole them out to as if they are pork barrel projects.
You're right, Roland. And first, also, let me apologize to you and to your listeners. The pollen has wrapped around my vocal cords. It's that time of year, so I apologize.
I understand. We understand.
I think you can hear me okay.
Yeah, we got you.
As we talked about last time I happened to be on, we talked about that he's playing red state and blue state politics. He does that with everything, whether it's impeachment, whether it's in infrastructure, which has not gotten off the ground. Now, with COVID-19, everything is about who's a red governor, who's a blue governor. Andrew Cuomo keeps talking about me. But if you notice, there are a lot of Republican governors who are also not pleased with how he has been conducting himself. Now, the ones deep in the trenches with him, they will always defend him. They won't keep people at home. They want to keep their businesses open because they want their economies to be okay come November, so he can say, look, in Kentucky, well, Kentucky's a bad example because you have a Democratic governor. But the governors you just mentioned that happen to be Republican, they can say to their voters, support Donald Trump. The economy's great in our state. Don't worry about what's going on in the rest of the country. Focus on what's happening here.
We can just simply not deny what is happening here. He can play all the videos that he wants to, Robert. He can push this stuff out. But what Donald Trump cannot do, now, granted, let's be honest, he throws out fake news. In fact, it was hilarious to watch the White House blame the media for the fire of Fauci stuff when it was Donald Trump who was the one who retweeted somebody who were saying fire Fauci. And what you have here is somebody who is he's not just a known liar. He will lie about a lie. And there's nothing you can trust that comes out of his mouth. And so he is going to play this game. And unfortunately, his supporters are some of the most gullible people you've ever seen. And they will fall for the lie and the okey doke every single time and swear he is the greatest thing since Jesus. In fact, they actually believe that he's probably even more important than Jesus.
Well, one point I wanted to circle back to is when you were discussing the patronage with the ventilators. I don't think we've done a great job explaining to people why the ventilators are so important. The way that the COVID-19 disease works is that you have a RNA strain which reproduces and therefore attacks the alveoli in the lungs, which triggers a cytokine storm, which triggers inflammation and fluid within the lungs. As the lungs try to push the fluid through the system, just like when you're lifting weights with any muscle, they wear out and can no longer operate on their own. Without these ventilators, which cost between $25,000 and $50,000, and now with interstate bidding, sometimes up to $75,000 per unit per ventilator, the only thing that it can allow a person to maintain respiration long enough for their immune system to fight off the virus are these ventilators. And even with that, 70% of people worldwide who go on to ventilators end up dying from the virus, of the number of people who have recovered thus far. So when we talk about giving out ventilators based on political preference, you are literally deciding life or death. It's not as if these people just want this as a luxury item or if it's something nice to have. And then there's these discussions about manual ventilation, which causes a barrel disease where you rip the lining of the lungs and the person dies anyway. Or when they talk about splitting the ventilators, what you have to do is put both parties into a comatose state so that their bodies can be on the same rhythm with the ventilator in order for them to split that ventilator. So we have to have these apparatuses in production. We have the Defense Production Act, where we could have put in place in January to allow some of these industries that have the ability to take publicly available plans, retool, and get them out there to the public. But instead, we're doing this dog chases its tail thing, where we, for some reason, do not want to believe in medical science, do not want to believe the research that comes out, and we're so busy talking about magical pills and voodoo prescriptions that are going to magically save everybody that we aren't doing what we know is actually effective.
Amisha, what people need to understand is that what we are facing right now is a dysfunctional government that is favoring the rich over those who are in need. We have a government led by Donald Trump that truly does not care about people. This is a man who will stand at that podium, will not say anything comforting to the people who have lost lives. 4,000 more people died since this point Friday. That means a 9/11 tragedy happened over the weekend, and all this man can do is to stand at a podium and bitch about his media coverage. Like right now, I believe this briefing started at 5 o'clock. The tweet said, the briefing was at 5 o'clock Eastern. Right now, it is 6:31 Eastern, which means they have been talking for an hour and a half and no real coronavirus update. It's all about his ego.
The numbers are what they are, and this president cannot reshape or redefine what's happening in this country. So he would rather use his attacks on the media. That has been his focus for a very long time. It was his focus when he was running for election. It's been his focus since he got to the White House. His favorite news channel is now OANN, One America News. He is no longer a fan of Fox, and he is utilizing them and their platform to help to rally his base. He wants to take as much attention off of his poor leadership and his response to COVID-19 as possible. He is attacking, and as you stated earlier with his retweets, that was a direct attack and a level of support for the removal of Dr. Fauci. He is someone who does not want to give the governorship, and the governor states where it's actually working. He doesn't want to give them credit for the work that they're doing. He also he wants these states to have to compete for federal attention. He wants to be the president who only helps those who he considers his friends. If you are a Republican who has fundraised, who has said nice things about him, you can expect to see your ventilators. If you are not someone who has been on that side, then you can expect to suffer and your people will die. That is essentially what President Trump is telling America. He gets to pick and choose who is worthy of living and who is worthy of dying. And right now, he feels as though if you're not a Republican who has stood by him and who will carry his water, then you don't matter. If you're a Democrat, you definitely don't matter. And we're watching, the fallout across communities of color, immigrant communities, and communities across the United States.
Every single night. We've got some of the top black experts. You're not going to see them on cable news or broadcast news because you swear black people aren't experts when it comes to this health crisis. That's why we have this show and why we do what we do every day on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Joining us right now is retired General Russell Honoré, the nation's first black Surgeon General, Dr. Joycelyn Elders.
John Hope Bryant, he's the founder of Operation Hope.
Senator Kamala Harris of California, Dr. Cedrina Calder, retired General Lloyd Austin, Congresswoman Karen Bass, Commissioner Omari Hardick, Bureau President in Brooklyn, Eric Adams, Dr. Joseph Graves, America's Wealth Coach Deborah Owens, Dr. Corey Abear, Patal Saul, Howard University student, Pastor Jamal Bryant, Dr. Christy McDowell, Benja Ajilore, senior economist at the Center for American Progress, Gilda Daniels, again, author of the book, The Crisis of Voter Suppression in America. 4 stars, General Kip Ward. Dr. Oliver Brooks is president of the National Medical Association, president of the American Medical Association, Dr. Patrice Harris. Joby Benjamin,
Dr. Alexia Gaffney, infectious disease specialist. Dr. Georges Benjamin, executive director of the American Public Health Association.
Malcolm Nance, family medicine physician, Dr. Jen Caudle. Dr. Tashaka Cunningham, a molecular biologist, Kat Stafford. She's a national race and ethnicity reporter for the Associated Press. Dr. Wayne A.I. Frederick, who is the president of Howard University. Congresswoman Yvette Clarke from the state of New York.
William Spriggs,
AFL-CIO economist. Andrea James, executive director of the National Council for Incarcerated and Formerly Incarcerated Women and Girls. All right, let's go to Capitol Hill. Congressman Gregory Meeks, Congresswoman Eddie Bernice Johnson of Texas, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Minnesota Senator Amy Klobuchar, mental health clinician Jamie Singletary, Prince George's County State's Attorney Aisha Brayboy, as well as Dylan Hayrie, ACLU Justice Division strategist. Dr. Cindy Duke, she is a virologist. Principal Steve Perry of Capitol Prep. Health and wellness specialist Dr. Yolandra Hancock. Desmond Meade, president of the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition. Cliff Albright, who is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter. Michael Harriet with The Root. The Mina McWhorter, founder of Love by the Hand. Dr. Julianne Malvo, economist, president, Emerita Bennett College. Coroner Michael Fowler is the mayor of Atlanta. Keisha Lance Bottoms, mental health therapist Suzette Clark.
Justin Gibney, attorney and political strategist, and Bishop Vincent Matthews Jr.
Dr. Suzette McKinney, CEO and executive director of the Illinois Medical District. Dr. Leon McDougall, president-elect of the National Medical Association. Jana Bailey, mayor of Moss Point, Mississippi. Mario King.
We're going to keep driving this thing to make sure our people are fully aware, safe, protected from coronavirus. You getting the top medical experts, top business experts, top political experts, top religious experts, because that's why we do what we do. Unapologetically and unfiltered. Ain't nobody else in the black media space doing what we do. Watch Roland Martin Unfiltered daily at 6 p.m. Eastern on YouTube, Facebook, or Periscope, or go to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.
Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered Daily Digital Show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com.